In 2018, Atlus revealed they had started development on Shin Megami Tensei 5, and there was a little bit of a tidbit a lot of people don't talk about until a couple years later. They were also looking at porting Nocturne for newer consoles, and here we are today in 2021 with a Nocturne port on the Switch and the PS4. My name is Rico, and we're going to be looking at the HD remaster of Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne on the Switch. And there is quite a lot of problems that we do need to be talking about. And to give you a better understanding of what we have here as well, we're going to be comparing it to the original PS2 release that came out in the US and talk about some of the features of the other versions as well in Japan. Sit tight and get to fusing because there is a lot to unpack with this HD comparison. So let's begin with Nocturne on the PlayStation 2. This version definitely does have some problems while it is a classic as classics come. Being on the PS2, this was a fairly ambitious title for 2003, and you can tell Atlus hasn't really taken full advantage of the hardware, leading to stuttering frame rates, and it wasn't really that consistent. Especially on certain battles, you can really see that the frame rate does dip from 30 frames, and it's pretty difficult for it to hold consistency. The next problem we do have is compressed audio. Unlike games like Persona 3, which has voice acting and music which sounds pretty admirable in itself, Nocturne unfortunately compresses its music files to an almost pitiful state. There is heavy static and compression on the music, and while the sound effects and everything sound pretty solid, the music just really takes a dive. And since Shoji Meguro is known for having amazing licks and melodies, it kind of is a shame to see this for the PS2. So these features are kind of notable on the PS2, and it makes sense. It's a 2003 title and what is one of Atlus's first 3D titles on the PS2, and of course in later years, they really got their ground going with Persona 3 and knew how to really work with that. So now that we got that out of the way, what does the HD remaster do to fix these problems? Nothing. Quite seriously, it kind of does nothing to fix both of these, but let's focus on what it does right, because it does quite a bit of it right, actually. While this does have some unfortunate caveats, this is the definitive version content-wise that has everything here, including Dante, Raido, as well as the Lucifer content in the Maniacs version. So the nice thing is, if you wanted to have the most concise version that has everything in it, the HD remasters will do just fine. Nocturne is known to be pretty difficult in a lot of scenes, and you will be dying quite a bit, and that's why they added the DLC to turn the difficulty down, and they did quite a good job actually. So for those who just want to speed through the game and have a really solid time, I think that's a great thing for a lot of people. Alright, let's move a little bit more into the graphics, because quite honestly, Atlus did a pretty awesome job with how the graphics look, and I'm pretty happy with the UI. The UI has been completely redone from scratch, and it looks absolutely crisp on the Switch. I honestly could not complain with how amazing it looks. It's very nice and crisp in comparison to the original on the PS2. For some of the characters as well as the Demi-Fiend, you can tell they are brand new character models that you haven't seen in the original. They're pretty much done from scratch and created to make the game look a little bit more polished. Well, I will admit I haven't noticed if other textures have been touched up. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the backgrounds have as well, or maybe some of the other sections, but it looks more or less to be almost exactly the same as the original, but up-res. There is a very significant bloom that you can tell that was not present in the original, and this feature is pretty similar to how the SHENMUE 1 and 2 remasters were done on the PS4, and I actually appreciate that. It's not really overtly done, but it does add some nice atmosphere and tone to the overall cel shading look of the art style. There are quite a bit new quality of life features that I think people will be pretty content about. For those who love to do fusion and have the problem of trying to inherit specific skills, there is an update for the Cathedral of Shadow for you to be able to select what specific skills can be implemented. And of course this was done in Shin Megami Tensei 4, so it was nice to see that they're able to get that quality of life feature onto Nocturne, and I really appreciate that, especially for those who really want to create the ultimate fusions at base game. Being the weeb that I am, you get your dual audio, and that's one of my major pluses of this game. I really do love the dual audio feature. You get a fantastic voice cast in Japanese, and of course English too. You could toggle between each of them, and while there isn't too much story to really go around and use these voices, they're still very much present, and you can tell the voice acting is pretty top-notch in itself.
少し不憫な気もするが消えてもらおう
One last feature to go, and I think this will be something that a lot of people will love. It is pretty difficult to find cylinders that allow you to save in the game, but there is a suspend feature that allows you to go into the menu, save a portion of where you were, and go back into where you were. And it's nice because if you want to check something quickly on your home screen, or if you want to go to your photo gallery and just look at the photos that you've done, or just to even play a game very quickly and go back to Nocturne, it's very nice that they have a suspend feature, very similar to the Fire Emblem games. Unfortunately, this is where the HD Remaster positives do come to an end. There's quite a lot wrong with this one. So let's go into the content. I did mention that the entire game is here, including the Dante features and everything else, and I wasn't lying about that, but there is a big caveat. If you go into the main menu, you get to see that there is downloadable content, meaning that Dante, the Lucifer content, and an SMT1 sound pack all have to be purchasable. With a total amount, you're paying about $24.97 to have all of the DLC and have everything that the original was supposed to have. Why this was done by Atlus, I actually have no idea, and why they're trying to make people pay for DLC that was technically in the other versions, it really grinds my gears. But if you don't care about any of that crap, Raito does come and replace Dante, so I'm fine with that. This version does almost nothing to fix the frame rate of the PS2, and quite frankly, is almost pretty comparable. I don't know why. I don't know if Atlus took advantage of both the Switch hardware or the PS4, but both platforms don't take advantage of each other at all. And if anything, the performance is almost verbatim as the PS2, and you can see here that there's not too much difference. There might be a little bit more chugging on one version or than the other, but it's pretty closely resembling each other. That really is disappointing. I don't know if maybe they had to divert talent from Shin Megami Tensei 4 into Nocturne to make sure that this is more viable. I'm hoping that this will be done in an update, and we do know that Atlus has been updating in the Japanese version as well as in the English, so mileage will vary on that. I know a lot of people will be more content having this game in 60, and I'm pretty sure that it can run in 60, but it's capped at 30 and does dip below 30. It's pretty abysmal, but there's not really much we can do about that. It is what it is. I really hate saying this because I do love my audio, but the audio is still exactly compressed like the PS2. There is probably a reason behind this, and this is my personal opinion, but I think there is credence to why Atlus couldn't fix it. A lot of games of this era, including HD remasters, a lot of source material as well as source files possibly could have been lost due to time. So if Atlus doesn't have the uncompressed sound files, they can't really import that in there. But you're gonna ask me, Kelpie, aren't there CDs that actually have uncompressed audio? And you're completely right, there are, but there's a significant problem with this. There are only one version of many of each singular track. Now we do know that Nocturne does have a couple variations of a single track, so if Atlus lost a lot of these files in some kind of source moving their company, I don't know, but if they lost them, they just can't really put them in the game. There's only so much they can do. I am very well aware that the PC version does have mods to remedy this, and I know they're quite good. But I think it's something to really note that there are different variations of music files, and there's only so much you can do. Or you can just disband that theory entirely and say Atlus is just lazy. Not too far-fetched from that one either. For a lot of people, they might not like the FMVs because they're also verbatim to the original. However, they added a blurred effect that is on the left and right to fill up the whole 16:9 aspect ratio. Now, for some people, they could say Atlus was lazy. They could have redone the FMVs for, let's say, Final Fantasy X, where Square Enix actually fixed those cutscenes on the PS3 and the PS4, and they blew them up for the entire screen. But then again, this could also go into source files. Maybe Atlus doesn't have this. So this is one of those things where It just is what it is. I'm not blaming Atlas, but it just happens, man. And I think the last thing a lot of people may or may not like is the price. And there is a reason for that. This game retails for $49.99, and I have seen it for $39.99 and a little cheaper. But if you're going to be getting the DLC, that's another $25 on top. Or if you want to get the deluxe version, that's a $69.99. You're going to be paying quite a bit for content that's already been released, more or less. It is true, if you want to get the original PS2 version, it's only about 20 bucks on eBay. And if you want to get Nocturne on the PS3 on the PSN store, you can do that as well. So it's not like this game is too hard to play in today's time period, but I can really see why people aren't really content with the price, and it makes sense. A lot of people don't want to pay that, especially during these times, and I totally get it. So the big question, does this HD remaster really, is it worth it? Is it worth it for a lot of people? I really think it depends on who you're asking. Personally, for me, I just want to play the classic, and I'll be fine with it. I don't like to admit it, but I'll get past the compressed audio. It is possible Atlas could have been lazy on this, and maybe they're pouring more resources into Shin Megami Tensei 5. I don't know. I'm pretty content with this, because I haven't played Nocturne like other people. But for those Shin Megami Tensei aficionados who really want this game, and who really want the best that Nocturne's gonna be, you're not gonna get it. I hope you realize that. I would probably recommend to get this game when it's cheaper for $29, maybe even $19.99. But even then, as a base game, Nocturne is fantastic and it's a great classic. It's just a really, really crap HD remaster, which I'm personally okay with, but I do know many people won't, and you're right about that. So what do you guys think about the HD remaster? Do you think Atlas could have done more, or they should have done more? Or do you think it's just one of those things where it is what it is? There really isn't that much that can be done. Let me know in the comments below, and let me know how you're going to be playing Nocturne on the Switch, the PS4, or maybe even the PC, because the PC is pretty sick. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I want to thank these guys on my right for supporting the join subscription and supporting the channel. I greatly do appreciate it. But if you want to see other comparisons or other videos that are recommended to you, my left has 2 videos that I hope you'll enjoy. Thank you guys so much. I hope you appreciate it. Let me know what you love about Nocturne. Take care.